Um, myself, Beth Caro, and I am the president and CEO of NIVTA. We're the National Independent Vehicle Title Agents Organization, launched in 2024. And as Kathy had shared, and we're omitting some more to the group, so you know, Kathy. I have made an endeavor to launch a national association to support our title agents that are in dealerships and third parties supporting the title and registration processes as we modernize. Kathy and I and Joe collaborated to work together, and I, like Kathy mentioned, are a Kindred sponsor member to WANADA. I also help with the DC Auto Show title and registration seminars. Last year, we were sold out. We had a very successful time. And Michael, that would be probably one thing I just want to say is keep an eye out for our next seminar in January and make sure that anyone that's doing the title and registration, touching those documents, whether it's controller or even F&I, they know that they can join us. We'd love to get more of the F&I people out or anyone in your sales team because we're seeing a lot of this start to overflow where that's really where the process starts in capturing what we need from our customers. So I hope today's topic on the identity portion, bringing in the team from FEAM, will help to expand your knowledge base on what we can do to prevent the synthetic fraud going on with identities, especially around individuals, but even individuals that are acting on behalf of companies. So there's a lot of widespread fraud, and I'm glad to bring in Greg and his team, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves now.
Sure. My name is Greg Tierney. I'm the Business Development Director for the Americas for digital identity.
I'll go next. Hi, I'm Shruti Jain. I'm a lead consultant, been with the company for over 7 years now, and been working on both digital identity and payments project here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Honoré Afen. I am a principal consultant at FEAM. I am located in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been a consultant since 2015 for working for FEAM, and we work in digital identity, payment, and smart mobility. I'm very glad to be here to discuss mDL. And first of all, I want to apologize because I was late, and I will have to leave you at 10:30. But Shruti and Craig, like, you're in good hands.
Thanks, Honoré. And I know we have a couple of guests in the audience, members of WANADA, so we're happy to have you here today. Kathy, thank you also for being here to help us host this webinar, help support us from the side from WANADA. I don't know if there's anything you want to add in before we officially start. You say, perfect. And, we're just happy to have this opportunity to collaborate with your members and help with this educational topic. So go ahead, and I'll turn it over to FEAM first for their presentation, and feel free, anyone that has questions, just stop us. This is to help you answer your questions, concerns, and know that we're even here after this webinar. Kathy makes herself readily available for her members. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out to her. She knows how to contact us, and we'll be happy to jump in and support you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Really? Okay.
Over to you, Andre.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, you should be able to see the screen. So let's start with a quick introduction who we are, Consultaperian. Next slide, please. So these are like who we are. We serve these three pillars in the ecosystem: digital identity, payment, and smart mobility. So what we do in these three ecosystems, I'm part of the consulting team, is to support our partner with use cases implementation. I'd like to say that technology is here to serve like use cases, and we leverage technology as a toolbox in these three pillars in payment, for example. And also we use like chip card to secure the ecosystem. And this is the purpose of our discussion today in digital identity. How can we use a mobile driver license to secure that ecosystem? So we are able to do that from when we say to do that, to support our partner from education to understand like the technology, all the way to requirement definition and implementation support and testing. So this is our main offering in these three pillars. Next slide, please. How do we do that? So depending, it's a kind of a la carte program, depending of your need, where you stand in that journey. Have you already implemented the use case? Do you understand the technology? Do you understand your option? What are the challenges you're facing? We play with this for step that you see on the screen. So for example, in the define space, which we understand that this is what we do with you today, is to understand what are the challenges you're facing? What is, how can we help? What are your options? We come with option like what is a mobile driver license and how the mobile driver license can be leveraged to strengthen authentication and security. But it's not limited to that. If we move to the design phase, if we see that, for example, we have a fit in the define, it means that we can move to the design. So it means we can apply the technology, which is the mobile driver license, to your specific need, to your specific ecosystem, your specific integration, your specific module. This is the design. And then we can move to deliver, which is the implementation of what we have designed, and the testing. So meaning like, what do we need to test? Thank you. So first, the use case. What are we trying to fix? The fraud. So we understand that in digital, in your ecosystem, you're facing challenges with fraud, with authentication. Authentication happens like face-to-face authentication. It means that me, Honoré, I can go to a dealer and they need to know that I am Honoré. So what do I need to, how do they do that? This is what we call use cases. How do you do that today? I have to present my physical driver license, or do I need to present any other form of authentication? So we go through the use cases, and what you see on the screen is some numbers that we got from we have done some researches in order to see what are the potential challenges that you're facing. For example, we find that 84% of dealers report identity fraud incidents. So these are like, for us, it's a first start to say, oh, maybe there is a need there to strengthen authentication according to this number. And we have a tool in that toolbox, which is the mobile driver license, that might be leveraged to address this number, to reduce this number that we see on the screen. And feel free to stop me anytime if you have any question. Next slide, please. So let's go to our proposal. First of all, why mDL matters? It matters because, as I said, at the end of the day, we have like, it's a very nice technology, but it's a piece of, it's a credential that we use today as a plastic card to authenticate and unlock some use cases. When I go to the bank, I show my driver license because they need to know that it's me. So we leverage the mobile driver license to strengthen the existing use cases. When we introduced the mobile driver license, we said it should provide the same functionality that at least as the physical card. So it can provide what we have with the physical card and more. So this more is what we would like to discuss with you. First, that what do we have today? And with the mobile driver license, what have we done in regard of technology? What is happening behind the scene when we were designing this standard, this technology, what we were trying to achieve with that? This is what we would like to discuss with you: security, privacy, and customer experience. How we do that? We start with the objective, like the mobile driver license work, like how the mobile driver license work, what we have done, the standard, for example. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Feel free to stop me anytime, please. I can be carried away when I talk about mDL, so feel free to stop me anytime. So why mDL offer a more secure? So we discuss like security features, and for example, when we say security feature, is when we talk about like a cashier, if we talk about one of the use cases that we have implemented, a cashier at a checkout, today you need to train the cashier to look at the physical driver license to see, is it secure, like is it a fake one? So with the digital one, what we have done is to enhance security so the system can provide you with some information in regard of security validation of the credential. So it reduces, for example, the training of the cashier at the checkout, because the system will tell you it's valid or it's not valid. So this is, for example, one of the security features that that is part of the mDL and what we discussed during the workshop.
Can I add to that, Honore, real quick? So to Honore's point, there's 56 US jurisdictions issuing driver's license. So that's the 50 states, DC, and the territories. Nobody, not even law enforcement, is proficient enough to take a driver's license from all these jurisdictions and immediately identify whether it's legitimate or not. So that's the challenge with a plastic driver's license. What this technology does via the global standardization of it, they're all identical. It's tapped on a device, and the person has to agree to share the info. You see the portrait and the information that it really is this person. This is backed by the issuing state. So Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Georgia, wherever that mobile credential is from, they're guaranteeing that that person is that person.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions so far?
Not yet. I don't have any questions yet, but you know, a couple. Sorry for interrupting, but there was a couple of slides ago that said something about mobile tokenization. I didn't really understand how that plays. Yeah, it's right there, and I don't know how that plays into this whole situation. When I think
That's a
of
great
tokens,
question,
I think it's something I'm putting in a machine. So I don't know.
Yeah, because of our expertise in the payment industry, the way that a payment transaction is conducted, and I'm sure we've all done it. You've gone to the supermarket or you know, gone to a retailer. You're tapping with either your credit card or your device, and it takes about a second. That's payment tokenization. The mobile driver's license works almost the exact same way. So one of the solutions that we could potentially speak to each dealership about is not only how do you credential somebody, but how can you process a secure payment and ensure that that person is permanently attached to that payment. There is no chargeback dispute. You have that as Honore purchased vehicle parts from your parts department on such and such a date and such a time, and his mobile driver's license is attached to that Visa card transaction. So Honore, you know, feel free to add some flavor to that.
I got you. That makes sense to me. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. And definitively, Greg, if I need to add something here, is just is like we leverage. This is our playground here. So, for example, as Greg like rightly stated, we work in the payment ecosystem, and mobile driver license. At the end of the day, it's if you think about what you have in your wallet, your physical card, your bank card, for example, it's already in your physical wallet. I mean, it's already in your digital wallet. We were part of that journey. We work on that. So when we move to digital identity, and when we do that with mDL, we leverage a lot of what we have done in some other vertical. This is also why we enjoy being there, like in digital identity, and where we are well positioned because we can think like outside the box. When, for example, we think about payments, so the focus is mDL, mobile driver license, it's authentication. But if we see another way to improve like the system, if we have another type of challenges related to payment, we can step in.
Yeah, and this is not a brag, this is just a statement of fact. We're the only company in the world that tests and certifies mobile driver's license. We sit on the ISO working group. We've helped design the standard, and by virtue of that, we understand it better than anyone else. 95% of the world's payment testing and certification is done by us. So we work with Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, all the other global brands. We work with the issuing banks, JP Morgan, BOA, Wells, Citi. We work with all of the major acquirers. So when you're processing your payments at your dealership, if it's tapped on a Verifone device, we certify that. The back end, the entire payment scheme where the interchange and settlement is occurring, we test and certify that. So it just gives you an idea of where we sit in the ecosystem. We're pretty much plugged in with everyone when it comes to payments and identity.
As far as identity, TSA approved as well?
We certify the devices that enable TSA to take the identity.
Aha, okay.
Yeah. So when you go in, when you go in and there's a Thales reader, an IDEMIA reader, yeah. or HID, those are our big customers. We certify that product. So the reason it works is because we take their product and we try to make it not work. And once they pass, we give them a certification mark, and it means it's safe and it's going to function the same way every time, whether you're flying out of BWI or Dulles or SFO, they'll all work identically.
So you're
And
saying, so you'll say the TSA guys will actually be happy because they know it's a real, it's
yes,
actually very real.
100%. Yeah, there's an entire process going on now where to make the digital identity real ID compliant, each state has to go through an additional step that we have to certify, test and certify them for.
Okay.
But TSA is happy when you go in and you tap with your digital credential, they 100% know it's you. It can't be spoofed. I've watched people make a fake ID at the AMBA events that Beth and I attend, walk across the aisle and put it into a reader, the plastic driver's license, and it's accepted. So this is this is a bit of a challenge for TSA. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and it's also, it becomes a challenge for you as well. How do you know the person is the person? And what we really want to do is there's two buckets. There's the fraudster money, and then there's what your capital expenditures. And we want to take this money away from the fraudsters and put it back over here so you can update and integrate your systems and use the newer technology to absolutely cut down on the amount of synthetic fraud that takes place at the dealership level. The other thing that this can do is because this is uh, um, a request from the end user where they have to consent to sharing information. You can also use it for KYC. So your promotional material, your emails, your parts department, all of that can be integrated using this single identity, and you'll know that the individual from the beginning of the journey, they walk into the dealership, or maybe even before that, they can use this online as well to make an appointment with one of your experts. They know they have the specific time. They're coming in at 1. They're going to meet with Michael. They're going to look at this vehicle. They're tapping to identify themselves. They take it for a test drive. You know that the person driving the vehicle by themselves is who they say they are. And if it doesn't come back, you know who took it. And then you can go into payments, KYC. You continue their ownership journey when it comes to service times. You can start soliciting them with targeted promotions and know what their habits are just by them using this credential. And the best part is they've agreed to share this with you. This is all the information that you can legally use, and we will teach you how to do that.
Is there, obviously, with the mDLs, is there a machine that I have that I tap into with, is that how this works?
That's a great question. So over the
Yes.
summer, we worked with one of the big device manufacturers. They're in the market now. If we mention their name, you would know who they are. They make payment devices. We work with them to enable them to accept a mobile driver's license on the exact same payment device. So depending on who you're using as your payments provider now, we may be able to help them help you by accepting a mobile driver's license on the payment products. And if not, we can help you locate a better vendor that's willing to do this. Because this is the new technology, and it's being embraced rapidly now. We have calls constantly with everybody on the back end of the payments world where the settlement occurs because it's a challenge. Synthetic fraud, it takes place throughout the entire payment ecosystem, and there is now a way to really address this in a manner that didn't exist previously because of the way that this mobile driver's license is biometrically provisioned, it's strong cryptography, it's fully hashed and tokenized. So I could tell you how to spoof it. You need to find somebody who never had a cell phone and never had a driver's license. That's it. But that person is still going to have their face on a fake driver's license, so you know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Let me add to that, and Shruti, if you move to the next slide, because all that is in scope. The device. Do we need a new device? What type of device do we need? And sorry, like my consulting hat is like is all about like your challenges and the use cases. What are we trying to fix? And in that, we might need a device that supports payment and digital identity. And this is what we're trying to achieve here with like the mDL landscape, the mDL use cases. We want to show you first the option, not only because at the end of the day, mobile driver license, it's a piece of identity. It's a credential that is leveraged to secure authentication. This is what we will present, the landscape. What is a mobile driver license? So you understand what is behind that technology. Then we dive into the use cases. So you understand how other people leverage this technology. What type of use cases, how did you strengthen authentication, for example, with retailers? How do we strengthen authentication? You mentioned like TSA. We might not mention names, but we will mention use cases, online use cases, face-to-face use cases. So what have we done? How did we implement mDL? mDL, the mobile driver license, will provide you with some information, just like today when a verifier, which is, for example, you or a retailer, needs to consume my identity. It means they need my first name, my last name, and when I go to buy that age-restricted item, which is medicine or bottle of wine, they need to make sure that I'm over 21. This is a use case. What type of data do they consume in that specific use case? How do they strengthen authentication? What are the requirements when they consume the data? Privacy, for example. So this is what we will discuss in person and remote. And then we will show you a quick demo of the mDL because you refer to the device. How does it work? What type of device do we have out there? So you will see a real demo how it works. And then, very important, we want to discuss after providing all these options, use cases, then we want to exchange with you. We want to understand your use cases. So you will know based on what we have discussed, so other use cases, the landscape, that how mDL can strengthen your own use cases. What type of authentication? We were discussing about like a test drive. How do you do that today? Do you need online? Do I need to register online? It means that it's a remote use case. So we will dive into that, into your use cases to see how mDL can fit and reduce this synthetic fraud. And then, do you need a reader? What type of reader do you need? Does it have to do payment and digital and mDL at the same time? Then we will go through all that, and hopefully at the end, this is what we call like the defined phase, piece of the defined phase. And then at the end, hopefully we will say, we have a solution. We think that we have a solution that could be implemented. Let's move to the implementation. Any question?
No, I don't have any. No, I'm fine.
Michael, I have a question for you and any of the other
Sure.
dealership group members that are on. I mean, how serious of an issue is synthetic fraud in your industry or for you in particular at the moment?
Well, John O'Donnell, who is with WANADA, right? He will send out alerts, and I probably get 2 to 3 a month that are actually caught. So those are the ones that are actually being caught,
Right.
and it goes to all the WANADA members, and then we have to take that information, give it to our sales managers, and that fraud alert really does help out. However, you can't catch everything, as you know. So we have to, I sent you the paladinsecurity.com. We use this tool to put these driver's license in state and out of state to determine whether or not they're real or not. But according to you, Craig, these guys are getting pretty good at doing fake IDs. So you can only rely so much on the equipment you have so far, but these mDLs seem like it's going to be the future of all the MPAs in every state. So
100%. And here's the thought process. Somebody comes into one of your dealerships and this product is available and they don't use it. immediately the red flags go up. But wait, why don't you have a mobile driver's license? Why are you, why don't you have a credit card? Why are you trying to write me a personal check? It's that type of, like, because we're in payments, it's the same equation. Why are you sticking with this 50-year-old, 100-year-old technology when there's something that's brand new? And I know if you use it, it's you, as opposed to, potentially trying to circumvent the system. And so right away, you should be a little extra vigilant if a person comes in and they're not willing to use a mobile driver's license.
Well, this is the first time I heard of the MDL, so I don't know how many. I mean, Kathy, you obviously have one, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna hook myself up with one once I'm done this class. But I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah,
Maybe I should have been aware of it. I don't know.
there,
I
there's
didn't think.
there's an education component on the DMV side, and you have to remember they're the Department of Motor Vehicles. They're not an outreach company, so they really don't know how to position this properly. It's just another offering that they have. So what we're trying to do, because we understand the technology so well, and we partner with the DMVs. I have a good relationship with Nagash, who's the head of technology with Maryland. They'd be more than happy to do some sort of joint promotion, set up in your dealerships, register people on the spot, walk them through the process, and then you can see it in action, how somebody would potentially take advantage of this digital identity product and reduce the amount of fraud, but also reduce the amount of friction. There's nothing arbitrary about it. Nobody has to look at this, say, I think it's Beth. All right, we'll let her drive the Maserati.
Uh, uh, yeah. Is
Thanks,
there a
Greg.
fee? Sorry, is there a fee to get the MDL, or is it what's
No,
the
no,
rate?
it's free. It's totally
Okay.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
which is yeah, it's legislatively mandated that it has to be a free. I mean, you're going to pay your driver's license renewal. It's
Sure, sure.
included in this now. You can opt to get a digital credential on top of your standard driver's license.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to just jump in real quick
Sure, Beth, go
before
ahead.
I hit and share this in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I didn't want to do it and interrupt what was going on,
No,
but
yeah, that's a good
yeah, I just
map
put
right
that
there.
link. Yeah, I thought that it would be timely, Greg, because then that would help you, Michael, to know what states are actually participating, where they're at in the process. And this is why Greg and I attend AMVA, which is basically the association for all the DMV administrators in the US territories, US states. So it's across the board, and they also include Canada and Mexico into this group. And so it's a very large collaboration around the identity piece. So I felt to share that map because then you know what states are actually participating. So if you have a customer, coming in from Texas, you're going to know that right now they're not going to have access to a mobile driver's license. I know that that's one of the jurisdictions that's working on it. But if they're from Montana, you should know based on this map that their MDL is available as a consumer. So you can start to see this map start to take more coverage. And this will give you the opportunity to also educate your staff on what states this would be available in and to look for it when you have, especially all those cross-border sales that have been happening since the pandemic really has increased.
Thanks, Beth. I
Yep,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
As you guys might know, we burn literally our deals are stacked with paper,
Yeah.
and we make copies of driver's licenses because by law we have to.
Right.
How do we do this with MDLs? I know these are simple questions, but
You can. Yeah.
And
It goes back to the consensual component of the request for information. The person can share it, and they see that they're sharing it, and then you're able to retain that requested PII by law.
thank you.
perfect. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah,
Because
there's no more field filling by hand. You can just tap and it can auto populate into your platform. There's so many, that's what Beth is working on as well. The ability to just get rid of paper When working with the DMVs and in the automotive industry, because we work with some of the OEMs, there's a lot of paper involved, and it becomes cumbersome. And we've all purchased vehicles. I can tell you it took me longer to sign for the car than it did to sit there and negotiate and do the test drive. So I want to help get some of the friction. Besides the fraud, I want to get the friction out of the process as well, and make people have a much more enjoyable and safer experience on both sides of the purchasing equation.
I can't agree with you more. The paperwork is just ridiculous, and it just seems like legislatively there's something new every year or every 6 months that they add to these deals. It's incredible. So, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, team. Just to let you know that I will have to leave. Thank you for your time.
Well, I think that covered pretty much everything, Honore. What we'd like to do. If you have to drop, Honore, that's fine. What we'd like to do, Michael, and any of the other WANADA members, if you're interested in engaging with us in a more personal discussion, we're open to do that, where we could potentially craft a solution for you. And I can tell you these things are relative to the amount of fraud, it's not very costly. I mean, you said you're a Ford dealership, Michael? Is that correct?
Sorry, yes. I just didn't want to. I put myself on mute just because I don't
no
want
worries.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I can't put a number on like what an engagement would cost, but it's certainly not a tremendous amount of money related to the level of fraud that we've been alerted to by Beth and speaking with Joe, and then just tapping into what's going on nationally. So, if this is something you're interested in, please feel free. We could walk you through the process. We could help you with technology, and we can certainly make the experience a lot more pleasurable, secure, and friction-free for both you and the client.
Thanks for the offer. I put my email address in the comment section.
Excellent.
So you definitely reach out to me.
Yeah.
Definitely we'll talk. So thanks for the time.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Greg, is that the end of your presentation, or do you have any more
I mean,
slides?
Trudy, you don't have anything else, do you? I mean, I don't want this to get too technical, what I mean, we talk really, the extemporaneous conversation and the questions, I think, are the most important part. There are no, when it comes to mDL and this new technology, there's no stupid questions. There's only stupid answers. What we've learned just traveling around the country is there needs to be a lot of education about this. Really, it's like, this product exists and most people don't even know it's out there. Take advantage of it. There's a lot that it can do. You think about, where payments were, and I just want to equate it. I always want to go back to what we did for the payments industry, getting away from people writing checks and carrying around coins to pay for things. So now you can just take your mobile device and tap it on a screen, and 100% that you just had a secure NFC payment transaction that's almost impossible to fraudulently intercept. The mobile driver's license works the same way. So we'd like to help combine that and just bring some more education to the new car dealership ecosystem.
I have been a victim of fraud through credit cards, and it stinks, so.
Yeah, it's not fun. So if I can make a suggestion, don't do swipe and don't do chip. And if for some reason that's not working, ask them why. You'd be surprised. That should be an option everywhere, except for, I think, Walmart doesn't do it for some reason. But
so, Greg, you have everything on your mobile device.
I do. Yeah. No, it's actually, and that's a great question. So I get a little bit, one last tidbit of education.
Sure.
All that is secured inside your phone in an area called the secure element. If somebody tries to tamper with that, it immediately, basically, it self-destructs. You cannot access that. So your credit card information, your mobile driver's license, they're inside a component. And Apple invented this, but now everybody uses the secure element. So it can't be accessed surreptitiously. It occurs when that NFC transaction takes place. You're enabling that to access the PII and your secure information. So, Shruti, feel free if you want to add some flavor on that too.
Well, no, well, you've almost covered it up. Yeah, it's similar as Greg was saying, related to, it's very similar experience to what to payments. So the customer similarly just have to tap their phones, and then you can do an identity verification similar to how you do a payment today. Now it depends whether it's the same device or it's different devices. It can they're both options. So it's really dependent on which option you choose.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we've answered all of your questions. If you have any more, please, I'll send you a follow-up email, and we would certainly love to speak further.
Yeah.
Oh, one last question from me, Michael. The amount of physical locations in your dealership group, just curious.
Only one roof.
Okay.
No, we just have one location. It's been here since 1962. So
Oh,
been around
wow.
for a while.
Okay.
We
So
try to
you're selling,
practice safety.
yeah, so you were
and
selling
all
the
things.
original Mustang.
Yes, we have. So, but I thank you for this session. It's been very educating.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. Beth, all you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Trudy. That was really informative. I feel that there are so many opportunities growing up in my background in a family dealership. Since I was 5, I've been in a dealership space, and I feel like there's so many areas that this can be implemented, not just on the sales floor, but the parts department when people are buying replacement keys. We're validating them by their title or registration proof, but this is also another layer to add in to verify their identity, that that's really who they are, picking up that key from parts and can be tied into that tap pay like Greg was speaking to. So
Yeah, even the vehicle. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, picking
it's
up the vehicle in the
yeah.
service department. Just growing up in the dealership space, there's so many places that we can implement this. I mean, even down to the back end operations of the dealerships, in the auction space and validating identity for the dealerships buying the vehicles, who they have as their representatives there, they can just do a much deeper validation. So I feel as we get that map further covered on AMVA's side, with the DMV's modernizations and implementing the mDL, we're going to see this open up pretty quickly. And, we're seeing younger and younger generations that are coming into a space now that are eligible to start taking on car loans, making those purchases. And this is how they've been interacting to make payments. So I feel like there's going to be a greater adoption as we continue on. And so the sooner we can just help everyone educate and get these things under their rooftops, I think the more that they'll be able to even work more fluidly with their clients.
I just
So,
wanted to add one more
oh yeah,
thing to what you just said, but well,
sure, Shruti.
payment again started with like a technical standard, right? Which was set by ISO. And for mDLs, again, we have that standards being set. So this is something that's not only implemented in the US, but it's internationally implemented, similar to payments. And the ecosystem is going to grow out in a very similar way to what we see payments today. So it's going to be part and parcel of it's going to be a day-to-day experience for us. In the US right now, I believe there's 6 million mDLs already issued. There are a lot more states that are planning to implement it, and so that number is only going to increase. Yeah.
Right. By the end of 2026, 80% of the US population will be eligible to obtain a mobile driver's license.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's pretty much it. The only big state that hasn't done anything yet is Texas. And they're
Yeah.
expected to do theirs in 2027. So at that point, it will be nearly everyone.
Yeah. So Greg, definitely send me some information. I'll
Yeah.
definitely contact you if I can.
Sure. 100%. Michael, thank you for your time
Yeah,
again.
sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Beth,
Absolutely.
thank
All
you.
right.
and
Thank you,
happy-
Thank you
Beth.
so
thank you.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to be talking about, as you can see on the screen, is talking about the DLDV, which is the driver's license data verification. So this ties into mDL. So this is where we wanted to bring up both topics because currently DLDV is something that's accessible, but the challenge is it does not tie into mDL. So this is something at this current time that we have access to in some of our states, some of our electronic registration titling systems that we have on sites in our dealerships that are back in the title department or used also at the time issuing temporary tags. So like I said, my name is Beth Caro, president of NIFTA, and what we're going to do is just go through some of the facts and some of the return on investment with implementing the DLDV. This is really a transaction type that's within ERT systems and also some external vendors where you can verify that driver's license identification data against the DMV records in real time. And basically, it's very minimal information that is put into the system. So it is not a huge burden to the staff. It's also not a huge burden on the customer. And it'll return just basically a pass or fail. So some of these tools can really be taken out of the title department. That's some of what I advocate for. So the sales team, the F&I team, before they even put someone in a test drive, this is something that's being done. So that way you know if that person is even really eligible to drive the vehicle in the first place. Helps protect the dealership. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to tether mDL and DLDV together in the future. I really do hope, as you know, I work further along with Greg and his team, that we can get AMVA and the state DMVs to merge these two topics, two items together. So that way it gives you a full scope on the eligibility and the verification on the identity. So I'll just jump through the next slide here. This QR code that's on the screen, this is, if you scan this, just brings up the DLDV information provided by AMVA. I rely on these folks often because they really help to educate and oversee the states and how they're modernizing and what they're doing to implement this for consistency. That's one of the biggest challenges. And Michael, talking about all that paperwork, a lot of that comes from the fact that we don't have consistency across the states in the title and registration space, along with many other areas. So this is just some guidance here from AMVA. And it talks about the true or false or that pass or fail response that you'll get back from adding in these reports. So I'll just dive a little bit deeper here. This is the DLDV map. So like I shared in the chat section, you'll see the map for mDL. This is where the map is right now for DLDV. DLDV is something that was introduced back in 2022 in the state of Pennsylvania. That is the only state right now where it is mandatory to run a DLDV. So if you're selling vehicles to a resident of Pennsylvania at your dealership, wherever you may be in the country, this is one of the requirements is their driver's license must pass this verification in order for that title to be put into their name. And the only area where that is not a hard stop for title work is when it's a business. But a business still must provide a valid identification for whoever is signing on behalf. But this map just kind of helps to put some context to the fact that we've got 44 jurisdictions currently participating. We have a lot of them that are coming up behind the scenes. I even think that there are a couple states here that have moved further along since this map was captured on screen. So all these maps are public through AMVA. You can go to their website and take a look at those, at any time to see how it's evolving. And we'll go ahead and jump in again, messaging the input of what you have and what's going into the system. And it's really just verifying their license number, name, date of birth, and expiration date to be able to get that pass or fail response back from the record. And as mentioned, this is in partnership with the DMVs and AMVAs. And this is the goal here is about reducing the fraud. That is our main purpose of this webinar today and why we are so focused on sharing this material. And here is just a little bit more in the weeds about Pennsylvania. Like I mentioned, they rolled their DLDV program out and made it mandatory back in August of 2022. We have some other states that I'm going to mention here in a moment that are right behind them, but have brought them in a non-mandatory or voluntary status to give everyone an opportunity to adopt and understand what this is and implement the process through their title and registration departments. Here it just mentions where that is in the law and why and the purpose for the agents for processing this. The DLDV reports only cost $2. It is something that can be charged to the customers. So as many of us talk about what can be passed along fees or not, this is something that can be rolled into the documentary fee. That way, your store top's not taking on an additional cost to do this, but it can be done in a fashion where the customer is being protected and also the storefront. All right, and we'll keep trucking through. And here's a couple of the states that I was mentioning are coming up voluntary. So we have Maryland and Virginia, which are both important states for the WANADA because that is part of their membership base. And so I want to make sure to bring that up today. The one difference is for Virginia, the DLDV reports are a little more expensive. They're $4. So we're starting to see a range start to go out to the $4 cost, but still very minimum for what it provides to the dealership and protects them from fraud. So just back in 2024, I want to share the statistic because we're not seeing a great deal of our dealers utilizing this tool. And so as it starts to roll out in Maryland and Virginia and become available in the electronic registration titling systems, this is where we should start to really focus on taking that moment. It takes 2 minutes to go through and do this report. Again, is something that has to be provided with all Pennsylvania transactions, but I'm hoping that we see a much greater adoption rate than just 0.6% because of what it's going to do to help make sure that that customer truly can even be titled and registered, that title transfer can take place, that lien recording can be implemented on the record, and the banks are then satisfied. So here we are, just a mention of the fraud prevention rate. With using DLDV, you have an opportunity to cut your fraud potential in half just by running this minimal record check. Again, this is 2024 data, so I want to make sure to mention that this morning. Again, though, very valid because here we're only in 2025. And we can see major reductions from the storefronts that have already been using these tools. Like Michael, you mentioned using the one tool for identification checks. Those are the things we really advocate for. If you don't have this available in your ERT systems yet, if you're talking with someone in your network that's from a different jurisdiction where these items are not rolling out, this is something for them to advocate for. These are really good things that we should be lobbying for our offices and dealerships. So as mentioned before in the previous discussion with Greg's team, these are some of the areas we really feel that the identity checks can be very valid and purposeful. The demos and test drives. Like I mentioned, I grew up in a dealership space and my family's dealership, now 40-year-old company, I used to do the test drives and Michael, like you talking about making copies of driver's license and those sitting back at the office, we're putting our staff out, we're putting our assets out on the road with folks that maybe we don't know if really can pass and be driving a vehicle. They don't know if they have a valid driver's license or not. So as we start to make some changes in the way our workflow happens when that customer walks in for the initial demo test drive process, they're out there online. Then they're making appointments. More and more customers want to just make an appointment, get right to business versus, maybe walking the lot. So as that starts to happen, things can be implemented in that appointment check-in process that tie into validating the identity up front. They walk into the showroom floor. There is a concierge and an information counter, receptionist greeting folks. That's where these things can be implemented and started. So before they even roll over to your sales staff, you've protected your staff through a DLDV or a validation on the identity. So they know that customer can go out on that test drive. There's going to be a lot less risk that they're going to do something harmful to your staff that's on the test drive with them or out with the vehicle if they're out by themselves. Is that car going to actually return or not to the lot? And as mentioned, we touched on the repair and parts departments. These are areas where people are getting duplicate keys, picking up vehicles. This is another great place. The mDL especially can serve as a tool to validate that individual and if that's someone that should actually be acting on behalf and prove their vehicle ownership. And then lastly, again, F&I and the title departments. This is a really big tool because, again, a lot of times we can't get the title work done without these tasks done in validating identity. We're seeing hand in hand the Invitus validation, equally as important with the identity validation. And again, risk, here, the return on investment, I shared my case personally about those test drives. I went on many test drives where I know those individuals should not have been out on the road. We didn't make a sale because they really just came in to kind of yank our chain and, try to see what they could get away with. And luckily, even back then when we were just having the systems we had and just making photocopies of driver's license, we kept in our list of contacts states we could reach out to make sure if this customer is really validated or not. But that can take up a lot of time and really leave a customer feeling disheartened that you don't trust them. So through some of these tools, this creates a lot less friction, a lot less upfront, where it would deter them from wanting to make that purchase with you. So just some key takeaways, just to share a little bit more information. The fraudsters, like Greg mentioned, are really relying on those ID cards. So as soon as we start to modernize, we start to look at our systems, what we have available to us to be able to stop these individuals from getting away from a lot of fraud. The more we can do that and better our processes, the better it'll be at the end of the month for our numbers. I see, Michael, you unmuted, so I want to go ahead and pause and see if you have a question or a comment.
Yeah, very informative. The DLDV in Maryland, you say, can we run those now? Can we run those reports now, or is it something that's,
Yeah, Michael, good question. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just was going to say they're coming into a voluntary process. So right now there's a lot of updates going on with the ERT system. Some of the vendors have been reaching out across the board to let you know of those platform changes. It's a mixture. Some of those vendors, depending on who you're using for your ERT, I would reach out to them. If it is available, it's going to be under your inquiry section where you would run a vehicle inquiry. You'd see a standalone DLDV or verification report.
okay.
And I'll make sure to put my contact information in the chat in a moment, Michael. And then if you want to reach out to me offline, share with me what vendor you're working with. I
Sure.
work with a lot of individuals in the industry to make those connections. Or make those recommendations up to those vendors to say, hey, we have a mutual client, someone in our network that really feels that you should put this forth, see where they're at with the project.
That sounds good, Beth. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem. And so here you go. Here's some of my information. So I'll put this up so you have that, but I'll drop it in the chat as well. I know we're just at time at 11, and I want to be mindful of that. I think there's a lot of content here. I'm really thankful that Kathy and WANADA gave FEAM and my association an opportunity this morning to present here. I do encourage any of you, if you have questions after, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really want to help educate, get everybody using these tools and be able to protect themselves. That's our purpose here. Anything outside of that, we're happy to help with as well, as Greg and I are very knowledgeable in this space and also can go into other topics that revolve around what we shared today.